Had
Yes.
you before this? Because what I'm finding is that I often get you involved in stuff whether you want to or not. Sometimes it's good
Mm-hmm.
stuff because we'll talk about something. I'll be like, "Oh, have you heard of this? Have you done this?" Which is great,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's good. We find like little treasures. Other times I'll walk into a place and I'm just like, surprise.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. I
But
appreciate the self-awareness. Yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I do what I can. I'm working on it. But
Yes.
had you seen any Ghanaian film prior to the one that we recently watched here now?
No, I had not. So I was actually really excited to see this one. Like you said, we dibbled and dabbled in some Nollywood stuff, and of course American stuff, and some stuff from the UK. So I was like, all right, let's see what Ghana is talking about. And then you mentioned to me that this was like really well received last year. So I thought, okay. And
Yeah,
then Netflix said, hey, don't you want to watch it? So I was like, the stars are aligned. Let's do it.
definitely. So for me, I vividly, let me say, remember my first time seeing a Ghanaian film.
Okay.
It was, I want to say, it was way late. Like not late, but a while ago. I want to say for me, it was probably like 2009, something like that.
Oh my
And
goodness.
it was at a salon, a hair shop,
Okay.
and you know how you be sitting there, you sitting around waiting or whatever. This was an African shop, and they were playing a movie called, and I'm not lying. There's now when I say this, Ghanaians watching, you will know what I'm talking about. This was my first introduction to Gollywood, right? Was a movie called Beyonce.
As in Tina's daughter?
As in, no, this is Ghana Beyonce. Beyonce
Oh.
was my first introduction, and it was they were in it. Oh, they were watching it. It was a lot going on. There were several movies in this series, right? And that was my first time seeing it. I said, "What is going on here?"
But why was it called
That
Beyonce?
was the character's name.
Oh,
Mhm,
okay.
mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and it's a whole saga. I listen, maybe one day we'll do a deep dive and we'll check it out because it's a classic. I
Maybe.
think it originally came out like maybe like 2005 or something like that. But that was my first introduction. Fast forward to now,
Okay.
I've
Mhm.
seen some Ghanaian, shows and movies and stuff, but I had not paid attention. So this was my first time sort of making sure I paid close attention to what was happening and giving it a bit more of my actual undivided attention and respect. So let's check out the trailer for A Taste of Sin, and we'll be right back with our review.
Actually came here to fight.
I don't understand.
I came to fight my feelings for you.
Do you still love him?
Yes, I do. You had a taste of sin. And when a believer does, consequences are severe and grievous more than a person living in sin.
How dare you tell me it is not true and I'll believe you?
You want to use your life for money? You are using your mouth to prophesy negative things about your life.
God blessed you.
God didn't bless me with a child. The devil cursed me.
As always, I am TeaRon. That's TeaRon, period. And it's another Tuesday, and we are doing this review. So you know who I am here with, respectfully.
Respectfully, it's me again. Yes, it's TeaRon and Janee. Hey, everybody.
First things first is I want to say that I am fully aware of this being a Christian-based movie. So if you are going into watch this, understand that you are watching a Christian-based film, and it's not just something that is without that undertone throughout. This will appeal to anybody who's into like the Tyler Perry universe of things. Anybody who likes to hear those messages or have that in their media will greatly appreciate this. The TBN watchers, if you will
Yes.
greatly appreciate
Yes.
what's in this film. So just know when you're going into it, if you're turned off by those kinds of things, I do think you can still enjoy it if you could take that out of it. But it is a Christian-based movie. So, but looks like it was mostly funded with the help of Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams. If you don't know who that is, Tiera, which I know you don't, he is. What's the best description? He is like he has a large following, a huge net worth, right? He's a bishop. And he's like the Ghanaian TD Jakes, if you will.
Okay, so he's Ghana based.
Yeah. So and they have the production company and they put this. I think many of the church scenes that we get in the beginning of the movie are at the actual church. So
got it.
We get to see some of that, but just to give you an idea of who's behind all of this. We start out this movie. I went into it with no expectation of the story. I didn't want to dig too much and ruin it for myself. So I didn't want to ruin any of the surprises, and there were many. The opening scene of the movie. This is when I said opening scene, I mean the opening credits, Tiera. For me, they were a little bit lofty. What I mean is there was an opening scene. We saw the choir, singing and stuff at the church and all that.
Yes.
I think from a storytelling standpoint, we could have just started right with the couple in the home.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because I had the same thought. And at one point, I paused it to see how long the opening was. And it was a good 5 minutes. And I was like, wow. So we're still in the opening.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also 2 hours is a big commitment. But we have to consider different audiences and perception of time and things like this. So I'll let the 2 hours slide. I stayed for the whole thing, so I might as well shut up.
I did.
This movie stars our two main characters, if you will, are Pastor Teddy Hanson, who's played by James Gardiner. That's how I want to say that. And then also Ruth, who is played by Jackie Appiah. Appiah.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Appiah. You know what's crazy is I have friends with that last name, and shame on me. But
you don't know how to say it.
But they are our center focus.
That's honest.
That's
honest.
They're our center focus, and when we finally get out of that dragging opening scene, then we get into their issue. And the issue is they have been struggling to have children of their own. Here's what. There's nothing subtle about their storyline at all. We get introduced to the mother. Mother is her name was Esther. Speaking of not being subtle, Tiera, and I want to know your thoughts on this. She was not subtle. So the first scene we meet her, she comes in and she has the house help bring in toys, for like a kid. And I'm like, okay, so she's in my mind. My initial thought was, oh, the grandmother is coming to see her grandchildren, and she bringing whatever gift she come to spoil them. But I had to say, you know what? This is the African mom. She's coming to impose herself and insert herself and have no boundaries.
Zero. None.
When they said I thought she was going to say, Tiera, I thought she was gonna be like, oh yeah, they can't have too many toys, something like along that line, right? Like, oh yeah, I'm bringing them, I always bring them gifts, period.
Yeah.
but when she said, oh, one day when you have a baby,
it was very strange. I thought she was gonna say she was bringing the toys to donate for other kids, because they had already said that they were having fertility issues and it was just the two of them. So I thought she was gonna say, oh, and since they're church people, I thought, oh, this is gonna be like donations. I didn't think that she was gonna say that. That was so weird.
It was wild. It was so wild. And I was like, okay, no boundaries. But again, African parents, that's a different kind of beast. Black parents in general are already a lot.
Yeah, I was gonna say
These
ours
West
too.
African
American parents.
I've heard some stories, let me just say.
Uh-huh.
And then there's also a scene where so they kind of they kind of try to come up with a way to let us into Ruth's mind and emotions, how she feels and her outlook. But there was a scene that I thought was unnecessary that dragged on a little too long, was that I thought we were going in a totally different direction than we did because we spent so much time with the scene. And that was her watching television. And on TV, there was an author that was speaking about practical resources. And the author was supposed to be, it should not be controversial in 2024, but we're looking at the world from our own small lens, but there's a whole other thing. And so some of this would be controversial to some people. And so the author was saying stuff along the lines of like, you can't just leave it up to going to church and praying. You have to, figure out what's going on in your marriage, or, seek help, or go to therapy, and, things that we hear all the time in America, right?
Right.
Whereas in many places in West Africa, in Ghana, people are going to pray everything away. Okay. They believe in the power of prayer first, and a lot of times only. And so Ruth is watching this on television, and it's just like, I guess she's, already in her feelings about, what's going on in her marriage. And so this drives her to say, yeah, we do need to actually seek help. Right. But what I thought was going to happen, and you can let me know if this is where your mind went too, was I thought she was going to somehow meet that author, or, have a, you know what I mean? Like maybe go to a book signing or something, because they put a lot into that. So it wasn't just he was on the screen. They
was a lot.
Took us into the scene and the host and everything. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Could have left it out.
It could have, excuse me, it could have just been like a passing, like her hearing that in passing on the TV or on the radio. It didn't have to be its own scene. The setup for that was a setup for a letdown, because that is not at all where we went
at all.
From this point. Not at all.
So, that's one storyline there, but we also get into other storylines. This is where I feel like the story was too lofty. It wanted to go in several directions. And instead of just focusing on, because that's already heavy what we got. We have a couple, one guy's a pastor, and she's the pastor's wife. They renewed their vows. They're, wanting to expand their family. They have a mother who's inserting herself. That's a lot right there to build on. Right? But
absolutely.
But we get introduced through a wild introduction to Reverend Kwesi Ty, played by Majid Michelle or Michael. I'm not sure how to say that. Michelle. Majid Michelle. Okay. And and his wife May, who is played by Abena Akwaba. I'm getting these.
You're doing that. You're doing that thing.
And there's no subtleties here either. No subtleties here. We get introduced to them. He's supposed to be like, a mega, not mega pastor. What's the word?
Mega church pastor.
Yeah. And he has, several churches in the network, so they have people working for them. They live a very lofty lifestyle. They're promising to help the poor and things like this. But I'm just like watching it, and I'm just like, okay. So at some point, I think, because this is me the whole time, this is probably a me problem, is I'm thinking, how are these characters going to meet? So I'm like, oh, he's a mega church leader. So he's traveling around the world with his wife. They probably have several, churches that they work with. So I thought in my mind that this leader who was greedy about he wasn't subtle about being about money.
Not at all. Not at all. That was nothing about that was left to the imagination. They put that all out there on the table for us.
I'd like to remind you, keep preaching, imbibe in the people the spirit of giving, giving, giving. Paying of tithe, offering, donations, sowing of seeds.
But I thought, and you can let me know what you thought, I thought that he was like basically a higher up of Teddy.
Mm-hmm.
So he was gonna, go to his church, check in on
Yep.
him, but that did not happen.
That's also what I thought. Also, at one point further along in the movie, when I started to see that there was really no integration of the characters, I was like, am I watching the same movie? Because we were like flip-flopping and bouncing back and forth between these two completely different stories. I just kept waiting for the point where these two characters would interact or their stories would intertwine.
It never came.
I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting.
You're gonna keep waiting on it because you couldn't get it because, spoiler alert, that he ends up, the mega church pastor ends up dying. So I'm just like,
there was a lot of death in this.
There was a lot of death in this. Another thing I want to point out is, again, there were no subtleties. Here's where I think that it's the different audiences, and that's, if we're going to get into some of these films and review them in this way, we have to remove our expectation, because
of course
Hollywood is the goal for everybody. That's the it's big budget films. It's the way the stories are told and stuff. So a lot of people want to get to that point, and they don't have either the budget or the stories don't translate the same way to other audiences. But this audience didn't have, this movie didn't have really hardly any like tree speaking in it, no God language, nothing really that didn't show we're making this for a broader audience, because it was mostly English spoken throughout, which is fine for us, right? But still the storyline did not do what we wanted to do. So there was a point where I said, listen, if I hear this word one more time, I'm gonna scream. Do you know what that word was, Tiera?
Womb.
I
knew it.
I said, if you say this one more time, I'm going to scream.
Those women I prayed for, their wombs becoming fruitful. And this leads to the removal of the womb.
That my womb was removed in the process.
I knew it. Yep.
I haven't heard the word womb. If I had free time, y'all, I would go back and count how many times womb was said in this movie. Oh my gosh. So we go back in time because Ruth, again, she's unable to have a child with her husband, who, by the way, is a gaslighter. But we'll get into that in a second.
Yes.
So we go back in time and we see young Ruth, who is being taken advantage of in the worst way. Okay. And she's been taken advantage of by a older like a teacher. Professor. And he's leaving her no choice. And at the time, what did she say? She was 14 or something. And he
14.
was 13. I'm sorry. And he was like, oh, you're a big girl. And you can pretty much fill in the lines there. My problem was this. That's a very serious topic. And it requires a certain kind of performance. Whoever they got to play young Ruth, she came to do her lines in the flattest way possible. God bless. There was ask me a question. Just ask me something. I'm gonna show you how young Ruth was responding. Ask me something.
What you eat for breakfast?
Food.
It was very that scene was awkward for me because it's already a heavy topic, right? And it's already something that is awkward to speak about and also can be tough to hear about. Someone speaking about that has happened to them. So then we go into this scene where not only was the actress young Ruth flat, so was the predator, Mr. I don't remember his name, the teacher. His lines were delivered quite flat too, almost comedically.
Yeah.
So it was like awkward, low-key funny. And I was like, I'm not supposed to laugh.
Hey, I'm not supposed to be snickering right now.
I
right?
shouldn't snicker, but I snickered. I'm not gonna lie. I snickered.
Especially when you juxtapose that to the performance that Jackie Appiah was giving in that same scene, because this is her telling the story.
Yes.
And she's giving emotion. She's giving tears. She's giving pacing. She's giving what makes sense for that scene.
Yes.
And then we go back and I'm like, this is two different Ruths. Distinctly two different Ruths. We know this is supposed to be her when she's younger, but she's really matured. Like she's
the vocabulary is giving.
It was a hard sell for me.
It
But
was hard.
I'm picking at nits.
That was rough.
Along the way, we get introduced to some more characters.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about this random storyline of Anita and Reverend Teddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tiera?
Yes.
I'll let you take the lead on this one. So Anita is a singer in the church. She's a phenomenal vocalist, as they put it, and she's got an anointing on her spirit.
Yes.
And she goes on were they going on like a convention or some kind of trip?
Yeah, some type of like church trip, convention, concert situation. Yeah.
And he was smitten by Anita.
But he wasn't. So let's talk about it.
Not initially, but go ahead, talk about it.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. So that's what was strange to me, is how quickly this all went down. And I said, wow, this was fast. He was just, they were friendly. They were, church-like, Christ-like. And they were there to do the job, do the concert, the singing, whatever the case may be. And she goes up to her hotel room. They're going to their rooms. He's trying to call her for whatever reason.
Yeah.
They didn't even really say why, but he was like frantically trying to call her room.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why he didn't call her cell phone or text, email, voice note.
Here's my thing with the call, right? So he tried to call her room, so he had to call the desk to then get her room. He didn't even know where her room was. So the front desk was like just giving out people's room number one.
Also that.
But number two, he called to get to, maybe they were going to meet up for a meeting or whatever. And she didn't answer. I was like, Teddy, you couldn't just wait?
Again, you couldn't text, voice note, email.
Well, I'm just saying, if he just waited a few minutes,
she might have called you back, bruh. Yeah, it was the timing of it was weird. He goes and
it went. Go ahead. He went to her. He decided since she didn't answer the line,
something must be wrong. So he goes to the room, and he just walks right on in. He opens the door. Now, this was the point I said, hold up. How'd he walk in? So I rewound it, and I saw.
I thought I was gonna clock them on that too, T.
I was ready.
How he just? But they actually. Yeah.
They actually showed her not completely
shutting
closing
the door all the way. Yeah.
So I said, all right, let me give you that. The setup was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Pastor goes to her room for whatever reason, and she is showering, and she's so deep within her shower that she doesn't even realize that there's a person in her room, and not just any person, her pastor.
Yeah. And here's what one thing I will say that I did like from this scene, and it was a very very subtle thing, but it was very clever because they were working with what they had, and it did what it needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a separate storyline, but if this was the only thing that was happening, if we didn't have the mega church people, whatever, then it would have been fine. But anyways,
Yeah.
so in that scene when he sees her in the shower or whatever, and he's like, he's conflicted because he wants to look more, but then he's like, I got to get up through. There's a cut in the scene, right? But the scene cuts from the same angle. So we see the room, and it's a hotel room, and it cuts, but the only thing that changes is the bedspread. And so there were two things that went through. I said, oh my God, the bed, they changed the sheets. Oh God. But he had on the same thing.
Yes.
And when and because they obviously they used the same room for the movie, and they just cut it there. But it was so smart. It was so well done. So the direction on that scene, what they intended to do to kind of get your mind like, oh no, he didn't. No, they didn't. Was actually really, really well done. So I'll give you props on that. But the whole storyline with Anita and stuff, fast forward, y'all.
We fast forward.
We fast forwarded. Fast forward. Ruth gets her closure. She's kind of getting back on track with her husband, but he ends up confessing to this woman that he is attracted to her. He's so attracted to her. He's so attractive. And he can't have kids with his wife. The mother is on him about having kids, all this stuff. They end up having intercourse, meaning Reverend Teddy and Anita, the choir singer, have intercourse, and it's her idea to say, I have to leave the country. I have to get this taken care of, stay out the way. I don't want no drama. And
but you didn't say what the taken care of is. You didn't say that part.
She wanted to abort the pregnancy.
Yeah.
So
bless you, amen.
She wanted to abort the pregnancy, and she decides she wants to leave and go out of the way to do it. There's some things that from the fallout of this that really I could not swallow, Tiera. Number one, Esther, the mother's response to Teddy about so what happened was too many pronouns here. Anita wanted to abort the child or abort the pregnancy. She does do that, but as a result of her leaving to do so, she dies.
Can we pause right there? I'm sorry. Can we just pause? This was the point where I open mouth cackle. I'm not going to lie to you. In all the other scenes, I kind of like snickered. I held it together. I open mouth cackle. When
Why?
They said he died. I was like, died? Because it was so sudden and like weird, and they were at the hospital and she told the doctor, hey, I don't feel right about this. And then like 2 seconds later, he's out there talking to the pastor, and the pastor's out there pacing the floors, and they're like, oh my gosh, he died. And I'm like, died? It was just the pace of it all, the transition of it all.
It was so abrupt. Because
it was abrupt. It was a lot.
The time that they spent on the mega church couple, the time that we spent on other scenes, the time that we spent Ruth going back to visit her teacher, all this stuff, y'all could have gave more time to what was happening, because why was that so quick?
It was so fast. It was
what I don't know, and I don't know if I missed it, if I blinked or what, was how did everyone find out that he was the one that got her pregnant? How did that get out?
So the nurse who was at the abortion at the hospital, she called her cousin or she called somebody,
Oh,
told
she
somebody.
told.
And she told. And so maybe some of the people from Ghana who can chime in here in the comments and let us know. So like in the States, if you do that, you're getting fired from your job and that's a criminal offense.
Yeah.
You cannot disclose someone's medical information.
No, not as a medical professional.
Not as a medical professional. So the way that the lady just called whoever she called and then it went viral on Twitter or whatever, I was like, wait. Yeah, right. It went all over WhatsApp. And I was just like, wait, is that not like against the law there? So please, people are gonna let us know because that threw me.
I mean, people gonna gossip anyway because people it's they're not supposed to do it here, but people will run their mouth still.
They will, but not like that.
But this blew up. And so and I'm gonna run through this real fast because this is where things got even more twisty and turny. You would think that's enough. So Ruth finds out as a result because everybody's talking about it and they have a conflict. The mother, Esther, finds out she's only upset because he didn't keep the baby. She didn't care where he got a baby from or what woman he had a baby with. She was just upset. She was really upset for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. She didn't care about the sanctity of his marriage or nothing. Didn't respect Ruth, not an ounce. But anyways, and then the police show up. They lock up Teddy.
Why? Why did that happen, TeaRon? Can we talk?
Question.
Why?
That's my question. He didn't perform the abortion.
He didn't kill her.
No, I didn't understand. So as a result, he went to jail for a while. He had to go for a while because when he got out, he had a beard, a thicker beard. And he was removed from his position of authority at the church, so he was no longer a pastor. But because this is a Christian film, he has to do the work to be forgiven of his sins and be reacclimated into the I was gonna say the order.
Yes, the order.
be acclimated into the church and welcomed again. So he ends up going, he's a street pastor, he's performing miracles on the street. And then he eventually, gets back into the church, and because he did the work and he put God first, surprisingly, his marriage works out. Ruth doesn't leave him for all of that.
Nope.
And in the end, she ends up getting pregnant.
I wasn't feeling well, so I went to the doctors to do a test because I thought I had malaria or something. And then the test results came out and it says, I'm pregnant.
Even though they thought she didn't have a womb to do so.
So can we pause? I'm sorry, this is going way too long, but I have to pause you here. So there's inconsistencies in this movie, several. One being the womb, because at the beginning when she goes to see the doctor tells her that she has a bruised womb. Now I forget the name of the what would you call it? The diagnosis, what he diagnosed her with. I forgot to look it up. But he specifically said that they said, what is that in layman's terms? What is that in regular? And he said it's a bruised womb, which leads into the conversation of her explaining to her husband how she had to have an abortion as a teenager.
Yeah.
But then along the way, they start to say she doesn't have a womb.
She said it herself.
Right. So midway, I said, so is it that you don't have one or is it bruised? So then we get to the end of the movie and she's with child. So that tells me that you've had one this whole time. So which one is it? I don't understand how that switched. how that got missed. That's such a
It's a
key point in
miracle.
this story. It is. You know what? It's a miracle. You're right.
Because
So,
whenever you can't explain something through trial and error, testing, logic, anything,
yeah,
you just say it's a miracle.
you're right. You're right.
Miracle. And it's a miracle I made it through 2 hours of this
Hey,
movie as well.
baby, baby,
I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating on this because
please do. Please.
I want. Here's the thing. I was like, you know
Mhm.
what? I don't want to put my American lens on this movie, but
Mhm.
obviously it was marketed to a broader audience, so they expected it to get out of Ghana in a way. And then, of course, here's the Netflix deal. So they put the movie on Netflix after a successful run, and so they wanted it to be seen by more audiences. And so this is that. Um, that's my first thing. I wanted to try to take myself out of it, but at the same time, I do want to sort of expect more out of other places because the talent is there. Okay, the stories are there, the resources are there. They have everything that they need to make even better films. What I think this film failed at doing was choosing a story, sticking to it, and letting it play out. Right. Um, I think that they could have gotten more out of that. The overall performance, the overall movie, the subject matter, and also driving home the Christian values, and making the point of what you were there for. If they had left out all of the excess storylines, so to
Mhm.
me, it should have just been Ruth and her husband, marriage problems, stepping out on the marriage with the lady, the mother also inserting herself into the relationship. That's a whole movie right there, full stop. And if they
Mhm.
focused on just that, I think it would have been better because Jackie, Jackie Appiah was giving her all in her scenes.
Absolutely.
And I think if
Absolutely.
she had, if it was more concise and the scenes were more intimate, she could have really given us a award winning performance. Um,
Mhm.
I didn't mind the casting at all. There was, nothing out of place in that sense. And I do also appreciate that we got to see, in terms of the B-roll, the external shots, we got to see, parts of
Yeah.
Ghana and things like that that we don't always
Yeah.
get to see.
I
So I can
enjoyed that.
appreciate that as well. Um, but for me, just because the story fell flat and it was all over the place, I am going to have to give this a Kevin Hart. Um, I think it can be better, but only if you quit trying to do so much. Just pick your story that you want to tell it in a compelling way, let the performers do their thing, and be in and out. We could have got through this hour 10 tops. What say you?
Well, um, this was a lot uh, for me. It was a lot to get.
Wait. Why is everything a lot for you?
It was just a lot for me. It was a lot.
It was a little for me. It is a lot for you.
It was a lot. It was so much. There was so much happening, so much story, but like not enough storytelling, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
There was too many characters, too many people. Um, I would have liked if it was just one storyline, and like you said, either focus on one pastor or the other, because I think both of the storylines were rich enough to where we could have really
Yeah.
dove deep into that. I think as a result of doing the most and doing so much, the lesson kind of got lost. The movie was a little long for what it was. And again, if you don't make it to the end, you really don't get the lesson. And I think that the whole point of this was to give that lesson.
Yeah.
Um, I think Jackie did the things. I would like to see her in a lot more. I wish that she had more to work with. I really do. I think she did the best she could with what was given to her. And I think for that, she saves this movie. The inconsistencies in the story, y'all, did she have a womb or did she not? Like, which, like, it, what?
Honestly,
what
speaking of word count and how many times we hear womb, this is probably the most time I've ever said womb in one setting.
Yeah, or my life. Yes, exactly. But yeah, listen, Ghanaian people, please send us some more recommendations because I want to see more of your films, more of your content. I want to see what you guys got going on because I don't think this is the best y'all got to offer. I don't.
Right.
I don't. So with that being said, I'm going to give my rating, and I'm sorry, Ghana, but I gotta give this a Stacey Dash. I can't. I can't do it, y'all. I can't do it. I can't. It's a Stacey Dash for me.
It's fair. It's
and
fair.
I'm standing it. I'm standing it.
It's honest, and we have to expect more because there obviously is something there. There obviously is more to give. So this film just was a miss for me and for us Black American audience. It may not be as much of a hit as it was on that side, and that's okay. That's okay. But I do appreciate the strides that were made and that they were able to achieve this step, and hopefully this opens up the door for a lot more Ghanaian films to make their way to international platforms so that they can be seen and experienced overall. So I'm excited about that prospect. If you made it this far, you can leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. Also, click that notification bell so you can be notified of any time we are doing anything on this channel. If you are listening to this as an audio medium, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audio Mac, wherever you are listening, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode and what you think about this movie that we reviewed. Definitely let us know there. And also leave a 5-star rating. Only 5 stars. If it's not going to be 5 stars, don't even leave a rating. Just don't. Please don't. Please don't. Please don't. And of course, you can always find me on social media at TeaRon World on Instagram, at TeaRon with 2 underscores on TikTok. And you can also email us, ubiquitousblacks@gmail.com. Please send us any recommendations or inquiries, anything we should be looking into that could help improve the Ubiquitous Blacks reviews and just overall Ubiquitous Blacks platform. Email us, ubiquitousblacks@gmail.com. Tiera, where can they find you?
Yes, you can find me on socials at It's TeaRon Janee. Oh, you know what? I'm giving them the wrong one. Let me start over. You can find me on socials at Tiera Takes, TIERATAKES _, and then also all things Ubiquitous Black. Just hit me up, Ubiquitous Blacks, excuse me. Hit me up there, and I'll get the message. And I just gotta echo TeaRon. We say this every week, but we really, really mean it. Please send some suggestions our way, recommendations. Ghana, what do you have for us that is not this? We want to see more. I know y'all got.
Send us the best of the best. Whatever you think is the best. Send it our way, baby.
Send it. We want to see it. Yes.
Well, until we meet again, thank you, Tiera, for hanging out with me and for this trip to Ghana that we took.
Yes.
But we will see you all next week. Peace out.
That's right. Bye, y'all.